Alrighty, now we're going to be making the Keto Christmas Trifle. This trifle is to die for, trust me. This stuff is going to send your family and friends totally bonkers, alright? So what I've got is I've got my keto sponge that's just come out of the oven, and I've let it cool down, and then I've just cut it into cubes here. So they're about 2 inches, or maybe like, probably about that size, if you can see that. And I've just cut them up and I've put them in a bowl. And what we're going to do is we're going to build this trifle up with some layers. So the Keto Christmas Trifle is basically a layer of sponge with some brandy. And then we've got some fruit, we've got some jelly, we've got some cream, and we've got some dollop cream, okay? So now what I did was last night I put the jelly into the fridge and I let that set. So now today I can use half of it for the first layer and use the second half for the second layer, and it's solidified so it's not going to drip all through the trifle, okay? Okay, so I'm gonna start here, and I'm just gonna start putting the keto sponge around the inside of this big trifle bowl. Now this trifle bowl's about 23 centimeters, or about 3.5 liters, whatever that is in ounces. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put the sponge around the bottom, and we're gonna make a layer of sponge, and we're gonna put some brandy over the top, okay? So I'm just gonna place the sponge around the outside of the trifle bowl. So it's gonna help me create a layer of sponge. So what you wanna do is you wanna get enough sponge cake in there to be able to create an entire layer in the bottom. So you want to get it as close to each other as possible. The keto sponge should probably make about 2 layers, but if not, that's totally okay. Alright, so I've just placed all of the keto sponge into the bottom of the trifle bowl, and I'm going to grab 2 tablespoons of brandy, and we're going to pour some of that over the top. Alright, so I've got my tablespoon measure here, and I've got this brandy here. Now, it's tempting to put more than 2 tablespoons of brandy on this sponge, but trust me, don't do it, because it will make it very, very soggy. There's already a lot of liquid going into this trifle, so just keeping it to 2 tablespoons will keep the flavor, but won't make it too soggy, alright? So we're just going to put 2 tablespoons. And the sponge is looking relatively soaked, but still quite dry, okay? Alright, so what we're gonna do now is I've got this jelly here. Now this is port wine sugar-free jelly. If you can't find port wine jelly, raspberry jelly will also work. But I find port wine jelly tastes a little bit like that purple Hubba Bubba that used to come on a roll. I don't know if you guys remember that, but we can't have that anymore, so we've got sugar-free port wine jelly. This stuff tastes really amazing, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna halve it. So we're gonna put half on the first layer and then half on the second layer, okay? So I'm just gonna get a spoon and I'm gonna spoon out what I think is about half of the jelly. And I'm just gonna put little spoonfuls on all the way around this layer and try and fill in the gaps in between the sponge. The jelly helps create a layer so that the cream doesn't go all the way to the bottom too quickly. We're trying to create layers with the trifle, and keeping the jelly in between the keto sponge helps sort of create that layer a little bit better. So that's looking pretty good. Now you should be able to see I've used about half of the jelly there. I'm just going to set that aside. And you can see here, we've got the sponge and we've got the jelly now around the top. You can sort the jelly out any way you see fit. But that's sort of created a little layer now. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to add a cup of heavy cream. So this in Australia we call it thickened cream. In America you might call it heavy cream. We're just going to add a cup of that, and we're going to pour that over the top. That looks pretty good. And we're just going to pour it over the jelly like that. That looks pretty good. I'll just put this aside. So what we're going to do now is I have a punnet of raspberries and I have a punnet of blueberries. Now, if you don't want to add fruit, that's totally fine. You could probably just move on to adding another layer of jelly. But this is the fruit that I think works best with this trifle, and it tastes really delicious, and you're going to want to put it in. Alrighty, so what we're going to do is we're just going to grab a spoon and make sure that the cream has layered out correctly, like that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put a layer of raspberries and a layer of blueberries. And we're going to keep them pretty close to the edges so you can see it from the outside. Alrighty, so just place them around. So as you can see there, I've just placed them around the outsides, and you should be able to see them in the side of the bowl here. I'm going to go with the blueberries, and I'm going to do a similar thing, and I'm going to try and fill the spaces in between the raspberries. And we want some blueberries in the middle as well, so we create a nice even layer. Alrighty, so what we're going to do next is I'll put the fruit in. Now we're going to add another layer of cream on top of that. We're going to add the jelly, and then we're going to add the dollop cream, okay? So I've got a little bit of cream left in this container, so I'm just going to use the rest of that up. I've got another container of heavy cream here. So another 1 cup of cream. And we're going to just pour that into the trifle like that. Alrighty, so now we've got a few layers going. We're going to put the rest of the jelly over the top of the cream. Now you can cut it up a little bit with your spoon here so it makes it easier to level out. And we're just going to spoon that over the cream here. Alrighty, so you should have a pretty good layer of jelly on top now. Now what we're going to do is we're going to place the dollop cream on top, and then I've got a punnet of strawberries here. We're just going to cut some strawberries, put those on top, bit of mint on top, and this is going to be ready to go. We'll put it in the fridge and keep going with the other recipes. Okay, so I have some dollop cream here. Now, in Australia we call this dollop cream. It's basically thickened cream that has nothing else but it's just much thicker than this stuff. So this stuff is quite thin compared to this. This stuff you should be able to get out with a spoon, and it's something that you might have with, say some keto brownies or something. So I'm just going to take the lid off this. Now this is 300 mils here. I'm just going to use a spoon, and I'm going to get this out and on top of the jelly. So because this is a keto trifle, we have plenty of cream. Everyone loves cream, so there's no need to worry about that. So we're going to use the entire tub, and we're just going to spread it over the top of the jelly. Now this should create a nice layer on top of the jelly, and it'll be quite thick. So the jelly shouldn't go through the actual cream, and it will create a very nice layer so that we can put some strawberries and some mint on top. All right, so if you look at that, we have got the keto sponge on the bottom, we've got some jelly, we've got some fruit, we've got some cream in there, and we have some thickened cream on top. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put that aside. I'm going to grab a little chopping board here. And I have some fresh strawberries. I'm just going to take the ends off these, put them out onto the chopping board, and we're going to slice them from top to toe and put them across the top of the trifle. It makes it look nice, makes it taste delicious. Strawberries do have some carbs in them. What I want to do is I want to cut these strawberries from top to toe like that, just down the middle. So we're going to cut them down the middle like this, like that, and we're going to fan them out across the trifle top. So what you want to do is you want to start with the big strawberries first, and we'll use those as the base. Now, if you have big strawberries, you want to put them with the small ends facing out and with space on top to add more strawberries as we go. So I'm just fanning them across, and I hope you can see that, but they're sort of fanning across as if you were to make a star out of these strawberries. So they're going across like that. If you put the parts with the seeds facing down on the edges of the strawberry, it works best. So you want the white parts facing up. All right, so I've probably got about 3 strawberries left, and we're just going to set those aside because we don't need too many strawberries on top. And I've got some mint here, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to break some of the top parts off the mint. So we've got some mint on top, we have the strawberries, we have the thickened cream, we have the jelly, we have the fruit, we have the keto sponge on the bottom, and that there is a finished keto trifle. Everyone is going to love this. If you don't have a trifle bowl like this one, you can just use a big round glass bowl, maybe similar to the one you might have used with the jelly, and you can do exactly the same thing. This here is the keto Christmas trifle. You're going to love this. I hope you love it as much as I loved making it, and I will see you in the next recipe. Let's go!